YouTube? Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Let's get this right. Mic check. Yes. Alright, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Talk Concern. It's me, Ogechi. For this video, I will be sharing some insights or talking about some certain things that I have observed or seen on the YouTube world and on other social media platforms and other people and around me who talk about this issue. And the issue I'm talking about is sending money back to people at home. And I mean at home, I'm talking about if you're living in the diaspora and you're sending it back to people that are within the, let's say, for example, African or Asian continent. So, why do I want to speak about this? Is because the messages that I often hear from people that speak about this issue is often one-sided, and I'll say to some extent biased. And I have watched different videos on this topic, but there is a particular video that I feel like quite aligned or outlined most of the things that I wanted to speak about, or the points that I wanted to challenge. And that video came from Franklin, who is also on YouTube. He's a Nigerian YouTuber. And as I mentioned, I've watched other videos, like either on Facebook, people talking about it, on YouTube, people talking about it, Instagram, people sharing things like that. So most of the things that the many people talk about in this situation is that people that they send money to do not appreciate their efforts. I have made some notes so that I do not skip a bit on things that I wanted to address. And also, another purpose for sharing this is also to give my own advice or add my 2 cents about the issue on how you can actually help yourself in this situation. So, before we begin though, don't forget to subscribe, share and like this video if you do like it. Subscribe, pretty much, and like and share. So, if you do want to, but definitely do subscribe. So, I'll be looking down and seeing like the points I want to make and then speak about it. Okay, so as I mentioned, Franklin being the person that really detailed points by point some of the things that I have always wanted to speak about on these issues, and I wanted to use his video on this topic as an example of what I wanted to speak about, because I've watched his video and I watched the one from Obodo Ibo's TV. Is it by someone? There was one that she posted of someone speaking about. Is it Mona? What's her name? What's his name? Mara Obo? I have no clue. Obo. I think it's Obo. Obo. Let's leave the name and just focus on the topic. So, the key things that they mention is that people at home, they feel like are ingrates and do not appreciate the support or the financial giving that you give to them, and that when you do give them, they misuse it either for their own gain or don't use it for the purpose that is given. So on that note, I wanted to speak about this topic because I feel like it's like pointing the finger without looking back at yourself kind of thing. So why did I want to speak about this issue? Is because when I was growing up in Nigeria, I remember some people who have abandoned their families. I'll say abandoned because based on the stories I heard, these people never called to check on their family or their parents at home. And then when the parent or possibly dies, you see them coming back with this amount of money. Well, not money, but like they come back looking all flashy and doing things that they should have done when the mother is alive after the mother has died. And I'll give a prime example. I used to go and sell something to someone, don't worry, I used to be a hustler. I used to sell food stuff to to my village community really. And there was a particular woman that I used to go to her house because she liked Roba, I think it was, that I was selling. She liked it. So, and I used to go and sell to her when she calls for someone or Ogo. So one of those things. Anyways, she used to go and she used to call me to come in so that she can buy. And going to her house, it was made out of sand, you know, like Oyaja, yes, that's what it's called. It was made out of sand, and it was looking all tattered. Anyways, it's just one of those old buildings there. And I used to hear, this is why I say people abandon their family, and this is, he's just an example. There are some people that have done this. Anyways, but he didn't have money. She didn't have money, and she still was able to pay for the things that I purchase, or sometimes I have to come back to ask for the money, or she buys on credit, but she still was able to pay somewhere somehow. Now I remember this woman, because when this woman died, I remember people were just like really sad, because everything that she could have reaped from her son, the son did not do when she was alive. Because when this woman died, I would, if I'm not mistaken, I'll say around within a month of her death, because at home you don't keep the dead for too long, but within a month of her death, there was a commission to redo the house that the parents lived in, that the mother lived in. And within that month or so, there was many people, many men or workmen coming to construct a new house in the same spot. So they demolished the house that the mother lived in and upgraded it to a block house. Now, the strange and funny thing about that is that many people were saying that he abandoned his family and didn't send anything. The only thing I remember is that when this person came for the burial, there was a lot of cars, his friends. He was that rich boy kind of person. And I just keep hearing that he's abroad, and who knows what abroad is anyways. Everyone that lives is abroad, but let's just say he's abroad, or he's not at home. So thinking back, whenever I heard the stories that people would stop calling them immigrants and stuff like that, I'm like, thinking back, I'm like, seriously, did that guy really abandon his family, or was there other underlying issues that we did not know? But for the sake of argument, I'll say he abandoned his mother, because he came back with his family. They had a big burial that they didn't give to the mom when she was alive. Well, not burial, but the money could have been helpful. So that's one of the key things. Another thing I wanted to mention is that many people that came here, though, you didn't come on your own. Remember, you didn't make it out on your own. Your parents must have borrowed money to help you out. Okay? Your parents must have borrowed money. Your siblings must have borrowed money. You must have borrowed money somewhere, somehow, in most cases, to help you out. People must have helped you along the way. So I guess then it does make sense for you to also be appreciative and show appreciation towards them. But that doesn't mean it's mandatory. So that's one of the key things I wanted to address here, because I feel like that idea of being said like that, people sell that people at home are ingrates, are actually relative and biased to a very great point, because the people that are there are hustling like you are doing, but because you're living in an economy that is stable, this is why you're able to make the money that you're making. At least in most cases, you are guaranteed to be paid. Even when you're an illegal immigrant, at least there is a law that still holds their employer accountable, because if they are caught, they will be charged or fined for employing you. So there is still an opportunity for you to be paid somewhere, somehow, or live your life, if that makes sense. So, and he says about people being like, what's it called, lynches, and have a misconception that money is grows on trees or handed out, or is a handout here. Now this is what I also wanted to address, because this idea is actually sold by people coming from abroad back to home. So why do I say this? Because that idea, if you sell that idea to them and then they behave in such way, then you have no grounds to really criticize. The reason why I say this is because most people, when they are coming back from abroad, they wear their finest, right? And they go back home and they use these things to oppress the people that are at home. So therefore, what message then are you sending to those people? And equally, if I can add, I was watching one of these programs on BBC, and it's presented by Don, D-O-M, and he said it was one of these programs that if ill-gotten gains, I think that's what it's called, ill-gotten gains. So it's where people who got something from an ill-gotten way get repossessed and then it's sold on. And there was this Nigerian woman who was there and purchased one of the products that was being auctioned out, and I was happy for her. I mean, I didn't know she was Nigerian, I just knew there was a woman that was winning, so I was clapping as well. I was clapping for her. And then when they were interviewing her after the purchase is when I saw her name, and they were asking her how she's going to use that thing that she won. And there was something then that kind of changed my mind altogether, was that she said this, oh, I'll take you back to the village and this and that. I was like, village, village, village. She didn't say I'll take you back to Lagos. She didn't say I'll take you back to the town. She said back to the village. So let me then bring it to the thing that you're not thinking about. If you're taking Hummer Jeep, and this is what she wrote, Hummer Jeep, village, Hummer Jeep, Hummer Beach, village. I don't know what type of village that she's coming from, but most people that are in your village do not have money for Hummer Jeep. So if you take that Hummer Jeep back to the village to show off to people, what mindset then are you creating in these people? Yes, maybe it's to be happy and show that you've gone something or something like that, you're happy. But based on the fact that there's this idea that they think that money grows on trees, is because that is the idea that people that are coming from abroad, wherever abroad means to you, whether in the Western world or even Asia, or even like your next door neighbor called Ghana, wherever you're coming from, if you're coming back and then you're having this mentality and giving them the mentality that you are better than them or that you have made it, then you should not blame them if they then have that conception, because you are the one that sold the misconception to them. Because I remember going home and people advising me, do not try and be like dressing to the best or something like that. And I was like, okay, why not? Why can't I dress the way I want to dress? And after going back home and reflecting on these things, I recognize that there is an image that you're selling to people that they are buying. So therefore, if they have a misconception or a conception of you about what you have presented, it only means that you are the one selling it to them. Doesn't mean that you cannot wear your finest around. Many people at home wear their finest around. You can still wear your finest, but also use your medulla oblongata or your brain to know that the country that you're going to or the culture, you dress according to the society to fit in a little bit. So that was another advice. And then another thing that she mentioned about people staying here because of documentation issues, I can't comment on that because that's not my issue. And then he mentioned about being duped by family members and then have nothing to show for it, or being lied on and emotionally being manipulated. Now, I wanted, this topic he mentioned is being mentioned also in that video by posted by Obodoyibo TV, so you can watch that video. And also in other videos, it's almost like one of in one of the videos, one of them says like monkey the walk, babu the chop. I don't know why he used that description, but that was his description. So, and I was like, okay, so let's bring this back. Yes, I do agree with that, because these things I'm mentioning right now has happened to people that I know personally, family members. Yes, it has happened to family members where they have sent, or family members' friends, where they have sent money to look after their older mothers or siblings, or for medication for their parents, or to build a house, or to make an investment, and then the person that they sent the money to misuse it or use it for their own gain. Now, why I say I have empathy in this situation, not just because it happens to family members of mine, it's because the amount of hard work that you give, and then the amount of trust that you're placing on these people. And this is where I want to touch upon. You cannot place a lot of trust on people. I've learned as I grew older, you can't place a lot of trust on people, because money do make people change. That's the reason why you're working, and that's why many people do not do a lot of things at work, because they know it affects their pay. So why I'm saying this is because you should not have a financial investment that you're not there to observe and manage. And I learned this from my uncle, one of my uncles. He said this when he came here, like in the 1960s, like 60s or something. Many people, when they were in the 1980s, when things are becoming better and you know, issues of racism reduced and all those things, many people were buying things from home, exporting Honda cars and stuff back to home to sell and things like that. He himself said to himself, why export Honda car at home when you're not even driving it here? Make it make sense. And you're trying to have investment at home when you have not invested yourself here. He said to himself he was going to stay and work his ass off and make sure that he's driving that Honda Jeep here and built himself up. He has built himself up. He was watching his investment, and now he invests in Nigeria, and he has different houses in this country, UK. Okay? In different parts of UK. So he has his housing projects, investments here that he can observe, and he also have housing projects and places in Nigeria that he still observes, because he goes home almost every year, if not every year, to make sure that he looks at his investment. So the point that he was saying that you should be there to monitor your investments. You cannot rely on family members. They have things to do with their life. My cousin said this to me. It's like, why would people depend on people at home to do these things for them, even if they are giving them commission? They forget that you have to come and investigate your own thing. How can you be at home here building house for 10 years and you never gone back home to try and find out what has happened to your house? Forget about people sending you pictures and things like that. You cannot trust people in that situation. So maybe you are being too trusting. So I learned, do not be too trusting when it comes to finance, because you still have to keep people in check. And even if you have given that person that money, have another counterpart who can report to you what is going on. Have multiple people observing what is going on in your place. And another reason why I say this is because one of my friends, she and her husband, well, she's not a close friend, but acquaintance to say, she and her husband have been building house. She said about 2 to 3 years or so back in Nigeria. And every time, the husband is the one that is close to home. So, because he lives in Africa. So, whenever he goes back, there's always one story that why they have not finished building it. You know, people are just doing this type of things. They do one decking and they tell you they've done work. So what they are doing is just making sure you continue paying. So what she said, she went back home being her own character, because the husband is very soft-spoken and doesn't want problem kind of thing. Her character is different. She's so assertive and persuasive in her argument. So she went back home. Within 6 months, that house was done, furnished as well, inside and out, painted, everything done. So she's like, sometimes you have to stay there and challenge them. They're telling you all rubbish. Think you're a woman. For what? You're going to stay there and challenge them and make sure that your house is done. So you can't really stay at home and just hoping that everyone does everything for you at home. As if they don't have life. They have other things that come up to their life. And they have things that they do with their own life as well. Family. Even if they're not married, they still have other things to do with their life. So giving them a commission is very important, regardless whether they are your blood brothers or not, or blood sisters. Give them a commission and ask them to use that money. However, you need to keep an eye on how people use your money. Another thing that she mentioned is being emotionally manipulated to send money. And this part, I think it really depends on your family, to be honest. I would like to think so. That doesn't apply to mine. So I can't comment that on that so much. But considering I know a person who feels obliged in this way, I did tell to her, know what is your own role in your family. look after you. Your parents have the duty to look after your own siblings. So that's my advice to her. Don't try and stress yourself too much. So that emotional manipulation only comes from, I don't know, I saw that, okay, it depends on your family, my dear. That is not my story. That is not even the story of my family members, right? Well, maybe they need something, they will ask you. But you also know the characters of your family members. I know the type of characters of family members. If I give something to, just forget about it. You know you're not going to get it back. And there are ones that they say they'll get it back. You know you will get it back. So that's one. Another one. Sentiment and self-imposed obligation. Now, in that situation, self-imposed obligation, it depends on you. I would say, please, I wouldn't ever advise anyone for or against it. You know your family obligations. As I remember working in care home, where this man was working a full day, and a full day was 14 hours every day. A full day or 14 and a half hours every day. For full day job every day. Every 5 days a week, he would take on those things, and he's from Nigeria. And he worked so hard till the point that he started limping. And I said to him, take a break, this is too much. And even other colleagues of ours who were not of black were even advising that he's working too much, and they were talking to me about it, and it's not good for your health and all those things. So I told him to take a break, but he didn't listen to me, to be honest. He said to me, you do not know my family responsibilities. Actually, thinking about it now, that's the key. Your child should not have to bear all the family responsibilities just because they've grown old enough to look after the others. But then you know your family situation, and I'm assuming that he's the only one that is actually working in his family. So he did say to me, you don't know my family responsibilities, and he's not even married. He's looking after his siblings. So that's really, you know your parental obligations. Actually, you should know your parental obligations. Another thing, obviously, family pressure. Well, just turn off your phone. I don't know. Just that. Turn off your phone. It's not that difficult. Just give them a phone, like you have like Nigerian phone, and what's it called? And personal phone that you use here. Leave those Nigerian phone text message only. Tell them text message only. If it's urgent, let them call you and leave a voicemail, and then you can respond if you want. Just know how to manage yourself. It's really up to you how you can control yourself. You know how, when you want to stop speaking to people, you know how to do it. So you know yourself. Don't put your personal investments in the hands of family. Yes, I agree with you, Franklin, a lot on that. Don't put your personal investment in the hands of family, because regardless, everyone can come short if given that opportunity, and the devil can manipulate people. Now it says parents who are being callous and robbing you and are greed and divert your funds family to theirs. You know your family, and I like to think that before you came here, you already know how your family operates. And I like to think that in honesty, because some of these people are even complaining, if you go back home, it's good to actually check how did they live in their own life. Did they rob other people? I'm sorry, sometimes I look at these things, I'm like, you know your family, you know how your father was. Like sometimes when I watch Nigerian movies, you see it where a parent is owing someone for money that they know they can pay back, but they don't pay back, and they give them stories, and you as a child stay there and support and be quiet and don't even advise your parents and things like that. And then when it starts happening to you, you recognize that your parents are callous at that point or greedy. No, you know your father, you know your mother, you know your siblings. So if you know they were not good with money before, why would you give them that responsibility to look after your money? So really, you know your family. You just know the personalities of your family, and trust them with what you can trust them with, or what they've shown you that you can trust them with, and leave the rest. Okay. Now, another advice that the Nigerians say, some people are in prison because of family pressure. They're ungrateful and blah blah blah. Okay, listen. This is from Obodo Yibo TV. Nigerians do not have a bad mindset. They have a very caring mindset. Actually, that's a think that they have a very caring mindset, but maybe that mindset is actually used and emotionally manipulated for gains of some people. So it's not every Nigerian, actually, it's very little people actually that does this. I would like to think so. Sending money makes you poorer. That's a lie. It depends on how you choose to budget yourself. Now, actually, let me talk about budgeting. So before I talk about budgeting, I just want to say, lest you forget, please remember that most of these people do not have the financial economy, country, the stability that you have in the place that you're living abroad because of the government issues. So I have a friend who has been affected badly with this due to this coronavirus issue. So she started a beauty business. The government destroyed it, not because what she was doing was wrong. It's just when the government want to destroy a market, they destroy everything without compensation. So the way she was selling, they destroyed the entire road and decided the entire place without any compensation. So her products got destroyed. So she had to start from square one. She started again. Now coronavirus happened, she has lost her job. What am I trying to say is to have empathy. Lest you forget, Nigerian economy is not that great. That's why you are left. So if things were really good, if you think they are wearing Gucci and all those things, most of the things that they are wearing are fake because they're only trying to keep up with the appearances. So you yourself do this as well here to some extent. Once you gain the money, that's the poverty mindset. So what am I trying to say is, lest you forget, it's not the best. Okay, it's not the best because at the end of the day, many of these people are struggling. They hustle, but because of the way the economy is managed, it's almost like they're always starting again. They're always starting again. Like this friend I talked about, how many things hasn't she done to make something of herself? She's qualified, she does her degree. No, the economy doesn't allow. And also issues of discrimination also plays a part. So really, you think of yourself when you were back home before you came here, was things really that good? So think of them, lest you forget. Have empathy and remember them. And also, if the people do not remember you, why are you giving money to someone that doesn't say hello to you? Make it make sense. Another thing I would like to say is learn to budget. Budgeting is the key to knowing how to give financially with wisdom. Budget your own self, budget your life. You don't know how to watch Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is an American person, TV talk show, or a host, not a TV talk show, but he has his own show on YouTube. Please, this story that we are hearing is not unique to Nigeria or Africa. It actually happens everywhere. Even here that you are living, where family are duping each other and ingrates and all those things, points that they mentioned, it happens here. So it's really good to start learning from stories of here and how they are learning to overcome it, so that you can use it and those advice for yourself back at home. So I'm not going to talk so much. All I'm saying is learn to budget for yourself, learn to set goals, learn to plan for yourself, invest in yourself first before you start investing in others. But do not wait till you're fully invested before you start investing in others. Because as I mentioned, do you want to wait till the person dies that you remember that you wanted to help this person? So please, lest you forget, things are not that great. And if your coronavirus affected your job, I'm so sorry. And I pray to God that you find a job. Okay? But please set yourself up first to some extent. Have at least £1,000 saved in your account. Please. And just learn to manage yourself and manage your goals, okay, and how you work properly. So that's all I have to say. On that note, do take care, and on another time we will speak. All right, bye. Signing off. Talk on son.